He lived a double life, one as an FBI agent and one as a trusted member of the Mafia. For 6 years, Joe Pistone, known to the underworld as Donnie Brasco, risked everything to take down one of the most powerful crime families in New York. This is not Hollywood. This is the real story of loyalty, betrayal, and the thin line between law and crime.
Things. I think, at one point you were undercover, that you were doing mainly, was it gambling and prostitution you were finding? That was the main specialty that you had, and then all of a sudden they ask you to do this work of you going undercover. Explain that transition on how that happened.
When I joined the FBI, I had my years in naval intelligence. They knew that I had the street smart to conduct investigations. So I would go in on gambling dens and work the gambling cases, work prostitution cases, buy stolen commodities, like art, stocks, bonds.
Now you are undercover while you're doing these, or no?
Yeah, on a case-by-case basis.
And how long would they last? 30, 60, 90 days type of deal?
It could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. All depends on how much activity you had with the bad guy and how long it took you to gain the bad guy's confidence and make the exchange and buy the commodity.
Were these bad guys Italians or no? They were not Italians?
No, these bad guys were not strictly Italians. They were just thieves.
That's interesting how they're not connected, because you go that many years and not one of these bad guys recognizes you from a prior case that you got him. Okay, so who called you and they said, Joe, because J. Edgar Hoover was not a fan of it, because he believed that if you went and became an undercover, you're going to turn and go the other side. So he wasn't a fan of it until, you came around and you kind of proved him wrong. But when was it when they came up to you and they said, Joe, this is the project we have, this is what we want you to do? Kind of walk us through how that took place.
Prior to joining the FBI, I had worked as a truck driver during my years in college. In the summer times. I drove 48-footers, big rigs. So I had that experience, and there was an operation out of Tampa that they were stealing cars and trucks, and they had an opportunity to put an undercover in it. I was one of the few guys in the bureau at that time that could drive the big rigs. So I was asked if I wanted to take on that operation as an undercover, and I did. So I was able to infiltrate that group and worked that for over a year and a half.
That was a year and a half case?
Yeah, that was a year and a half undercover operation. What we would do is you would come to us and say, I want a Mercedes-Benz. Okay, what color you want? What kind of interior you want? What extras you want? And then we go find a Mercedes-Benz dealership and hook it at night.
That's it?
That's it. I learned to be a car thief.
Wow, for a year and a half?
For a year and a half.
Did you get publicity for that once you took those guys down?
Well, they went to trial and we got all the convictions.
So was the Joe Pistone name public yet or not yet?
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
See, that's the part that's fascinating to me on how this happens.
Because we had the trials in Tampa, so sure.
But when they do recognition and, they recognize an FBI agent for the work they do, they don't typically do it publicly. They do it in a more private function with the family.
It wasn't advertised. It was just whatever the courtroom was, the court testimony.
That didn't have anything to do with New York, so maybe there's not a...
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, is that kind of how you earned your stripes and they said, look, this guy can hang, he's pretty calm, he can go in and make it work, why don't we give him this project? And when they did, were there other options they were looking at, or were there like a process, or was it just a meeting and say, Joe, this is you, we've decided you're going to do this work?
Well, actually, I get back to New York after that year and a half operation. My supervisor, by the name of a gentleman by the name of Guy Barada, had this idea for this undercover operation. He asked me if I wanted to be the undercover. Because of my background being Italian, it was geared toward the Mafia, the Italians. I said, sure.
And you actually speak Italian, by the way.
Not that great anymore.
At that time.
Yeah, but not that, you lose everything,
Got it.
But I'll tell you what, you didn't have to, because a lot of these guys don't speak it anyway.
The guys back at home do, but not
the
the guys
guys
over
back
here.
at home do, It took about 3 to 4 months planning the operation, getting everything in place.
What does that mean, planning the operation?
The FBI doesn't shotgun undercover operations. You got to have specific targets. You got to have a specific plan of operation. So by the time we did that, then you have to build yourself a legend, because why do these guys want me? you know, or why, what would attract them. So you have to have a legend. Since it was going to be a deep cover operation, you had to have everything in place before you actually went onto the streets. You can't pick a profession that's a profession involving violence, because
What does that mean?
well, in other words, I couldn't go in and say, hey, I'm a leg breaker, you know, I'm a money collector, I'm a leg breaker, I'm a stick-up man.
Got it. There had to be a special skill, like yours was being a jeweler.
Jewel
You know how to
thief.
kind of,
Right.
you know, see them.
As an undercover agent, you can't commit acts of violence. So if I go in and say, hey, you know, I'm a stick-up man, well, they're going to expect me to go
Do that. 'Cause
do a
it's-
bank robbery with a gun, and actually you can't do that. So
Interesting.
we figured the best criminal profession would be a jewel thief for various reasons. It's not one of violence. A lot of jewel thieves operate alone. I could get jewel and precious gems from the government to show that I went out and did a score. Now you take a step further. If I say I'm a jewel thief, I better know about diamonds and precious gems.
So how did that happen? Because you knew when you said this is a Fergese, you know, this is a. How did you learn that?
I went to school to learn about diamonds and precious gems.
Like a private non-FBI, nothing related to the
Nothing
FBI.
related to the FBI. I just went and enrolled and
I mean, you got the eye to be able to tell the difference
Took the
between cubic
course.
zirconium and like a diamond.
And then we had a friendly jeweler that I spent time in his back room with his diamond guy. And then once I became comfortable that, you know, I could at least discuss diamonds and precious gems, then
Before he ever met a mobster, Joe had to become one. He studied diamonds, learned the language of the streets, and built a fake life so convincing, even killers believed it was real.
But the theme starts with the bar.
With
so,
Lefty.
So how does, with Lefty. So, and by the way, you hear how Mira introduced you to Lefty. You read all these different things. So, and you know, Tony Mira's got a whole different reputation of himself, right? So who actually did introduce you? Like, did Mira tell you go to this bar? Did you get connected with him first before Lefty came? Walk us through that a little bit.
we had several bars and restaurants targeted that we knew that these individuals hung out in. And the idea was for me to visit these bars and restaurants, get my face seen, hopefully get into conversation with people, because you don't walk into a Mafia place and say, hey, you know, I'm Donnie Brasco, jewel thief. I like to start doing business
Who
with
do you know? Yeah.
Who do you know?
Yeah.
And the idea was hopefully to get in conversation and go from there. So that's what I did. And it had to be a 7-day-a-week job, because you can't be around Monday to Friday, because once they recognize your face, if you're never around Saturdays and Sundays, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can't have the same routine all the
So
time.
it can't be every day at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
So you gotta make sure you're changing that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, while you're doing this, are you living with your wife and kids or
No, I'm living in my own apartment. My wife and kids are across the country.
So initially, the project wasn't supposed to go for 6 years.
6 months.
6 months was the plan.
Yeah.
So it gets started, okay? And the introduction, Mira, Lefty, how does that go?
My first introduction was with the Colombo family out of New York City. I met them. I got friendly with a bartender at one of the places. After about maybe 6 months, we finally connected as far as talking. One night he brings me to an all-night crap game, and it's, you know, all mob guys. And he doesn't introduce me to anybody, but I'm with him, so I'm good. I see Mira at these games. Through conversation and everything, he knows, hey, this guy's a street guy, he knows what's going on. So he introduces me to guys, and I had some diamonds one day. I come into the bar one night, and I say, I got a package here that I need X amount of money for. I don't tell him what it is.
This is to the bartender?
To the bartender.
Okay.
If you can do anything, let me know. He just takes it. About 2 weeks later, and during this 2-week period, I don't ask him about the package, and he don't say anything. But 2 weeks later, he says, hey, Donnie, he said, somebody left this envelope for you. I said, okay. And he had sold the diamonds. Or
The bartender did?
The bartender.
Okay.
So now, when we go out and go to the crap games, now he introduces me as Don the jeweler, because I gave him.
So now you have a reputation.
Now I got a reputation, see.
How long since you started going to the bar until that happens? Because this takes
Maybe about
patience.
6 months.
6 months until you're even introduced to these
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of
So
patience.
for 6 months, you just got to keep being patient every day
just
and
out-
not even.
just out there every night, hoping that hoping to get in a conversation with somebody.
Wow. Okay, so 6 months later, you get to meet these guys. He
Yeah.
calls you Don the jeweler.
Yeah. Then he introduced me to a guy by the name of Gilly, who's a Colombo. Gilly has a place out in Brooklyn. So, Gilly says to me one day, Donnie, why don't you come out tomorrow? Come out to my place in Brooklyn, his club in Brooklyn. I said, okay, Gilly. So I go out there, and he introduced, since the bartender vouched for me, Gilly introduces me to his crew. I'm out there maybe a couple months with them.
Mm-hmm.
They were a very active crew in hijacking and other activities. Now, a made guy is somebody that's been officially inducted into a Mafia family, okay? There are a lot of rules that the Mafia has. It's very important. If you're an undercover, you know what these rules are, because they'll help you ingratiate yourself, and they'll also keep you alive. When you work undercover, you have to know your enemy. You gotta know everything about your enemy, because if you don't, you're gonna get killed. So I knew the rules. You never embarrass a made guy in front of anybody else. If I'm in an argument with you, and I'm not a made guy, if I embarrass you in front of anybody else, I'm in trouble. The other rule is, during the course of this verbal argument you and I have, if you give me a slap and I hit you back, you're gonna get killed.
To a made guy.
To a made guy, you're gonna
Wow.
get killed. In any undercover operation where you infiltrate an organized crime group that you know has violence attached to them, you're going to get into argument, because everybody doesn't like everybody. I mean,
Of course.
it's not a kumbaya world.
Sure.
These guys get out of jail, and one of them's a made guy and one of them isn't.
This is Colombo family.
This is the Colombos.
Okay.
All right. Frankie and Patsy. They had some scores lined up. So Gilly tells me, and I said, whatever the scores were, it's too dangerous. You want to rob a factory in broad daylight. It's a crazy idea. One day I come to the club, and Gilly says, Donnie, he said, let's walk and talk. Now, walk and talk is you walk down the street and you talk. And the reason they do that is because they don't think anybody's listening. Patsy was the made guy. He said, Patsy wants to have a sit down. So I said, well, let's have a sit down. So we go in the back of Gilly's club. They lock the door. We sit down at a table. Patsy takes out his gun out of the thing and lays it on the table. And he said, Donnie, if you don't tell me and convince me that you're as good a thief as Gilly says you are, the only way you're going out of here is rolled up in that rug. I said, what do you need to know? So that's another thing, too. You never give anybody up. So he wants to know, he's asking me about, well, you said you're from Miami. Tell me some guys in Miami that you thieved with. I'm not telling you anybody. I'm not giving you names of guys. I says, look, you just got out of jail. How do I know you're going to become an informant in jail? Now,
You telling him this?
I'm telling him this, but I'm on a fine line here, right? We go back and forth, back and forth. So after about 5 hours, finally Gilly says, hey, look, it's over. Donnie's been around us for like 3 months. Nothing's ever happened. This is over. Now I got another problem. They just called Donnie out. Why isn't he ticked off? If I apologize, they're all going to say, they just called Donnie out. How come he's not PO'd? Now, I can't do anything to Patsy because he's a made guy.
That's what I'm thinking, because you just said that, the two rules.
But Frankie's with Patsy. So, as we get up, I lay Frankie out.
Right there.
Right there. Patsy starts on me, but I can't do anything but just defend myself against him. But I just keep hitting Frankie. So finally they break it up. But now I know I got to get away from these guys. So after they break it up, I say, Gilly, no disrespect to you, but I can't be around these guys anymore. I can't be around Patsy and Frankie anymore because this is not over with them. So he says, well, I understand. Now, I had met Tony Mirror at the games.
The crap game.
At the crap games.
Yep.
I leave the Colombos. The next time I go to the crap games, I side up to Mirror because I know he's a Bonanno guy, and he's downtown in Little Italy. I start hanging with Tony Mirror, but he's off the charts. I mean, the guy was definitely psycho. I mean, even the wise guys really didn't like him, but he was a big money maker.
He was an earner.
He was a big earner in the drug trade for the Bonannos. And he had just gotten out of jail. But I started hanging out with him, and he introduced me to Lefty because they were all in the same crew down in Little Italy. And I got into a couple beefs with Mirror
Now he's a made guy.
Oh, yeah, he's a made guy.
And he's a guy that's got a reputation.
A bad reputation.
I heard he's killed more people than cancer when you read about this guy.
Bad guy. But one night we're in a restaurant, and it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he starts berating the waitress. I said, Tony, I said, it's not her fault. Leave her alone. Well, he went ape. He started calling me, and there's other people there. He just berated me for telling him.
Calling him out.
Yeah.
But he doesn't hit you, he doesn't fight you.
No. I can't let him think that he's going to be talking to me like this all the time. The next day, he and I are alone, and I just told him, I said, Tony, I said, look, there's nobody around now, but don't ever talk to me like that again.
You told him that?
Yeah.
What was his reaction?
His reaction was like he was stunned. I said, because if you do, I said, you better watch your back. I said, because I'll come after you when nobody's around.
You told him that?
Yeah.
How's his reaction, even after you say that?
Well, his reaction was, you can't talk to me like that. And I said, I'm talking to you because there's nobody else around. So it's...
So you at least gave him the respect to save face by doing it privately.
Yeah. But I couldn't show him that I was going to take his...
Do you think he appreciated that you at least did it privately?
I think he did.
Okay.
Well, that's what these guys...
It's a respect-driven game.
That's what they respect. They don't respect weakness. It's like a terrorist. A terrorist doesn't respect you when you're weak. I had to let him know that I wasn't going to take it. I may have to take his verbal abuse around other people, but I was going to let him know later on.
This doesn't fly with you.
Where I stood with it,
How far into it is it? From the moment you decided to go like this, you said 6 months you were at the bar, but how long have you been in now?
Almost a year.
Almost a year to getting to this point.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, were you Mira's guy, or Mira hasn't locked you in as his guy? He hasn't done that yet.
That was his problem.
You are, or you're not
I'm
yet?
not.
Oh, got it. So he can't say you're his property like somebody else can.
The rule is a made guy brings somebody else in. He goes to his captain and says, I'm claiming Donnie. Mira never did that.
Why didn't he though?
Who knows? Who knows?
Interesting.
Who knows?
Well, good for you that he did.
Oh yeah, it was the best.
Yeah.
He goes away to the can. Again, now is when I marry up with Lefty.
Got it.
Now, at that time, our captain was a guy by the name of Mike Sabella, because Galenti was still alive and the boss. Now, Lefty goes to Mike and says, I'm claiming Donnie.
And Mike's a cap, so he can do that.
And Mike's the captain. He was Lefty's captain.
Got it.
So now I'm under Mike Sabella with
under Lefty. Got it.
So that's
6 months of silence, fake smiles, and near-death conversations. One wrong word could get him killed, and one small win could earn him trust among men who never trusted anyone.
I would go to Lefty's house for dinner on Sundays.
In that world, Sunday, if you go there, that's family. You're not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like the pinnacle.
Yeah.
So now, at what point was it when you and Lefty get really close, past that, where it's like, I know you're going Sundays and it's family. When was it when the first time he told you, says, listen, I have your back, you're my guy, I love you, we're going to do this together, we're going to take over the world together. When was that?
Lefty was running book for the underboss of the Bonanno family. He brings me in, and of course he introduces me to Nicky Marangello, who was the underboss.
Nicky is not Nicky Mouth. That's a different Nicky, right? You're talking about the complete different Nicky.
This is Nicky Classic, Nicky Marangello. He's the underboss of the Bonannos. So Lefty brings me to Nicky, says Donnie's going to be working with me in the operation. Well, now it's maybe 4 months or something, and these guys see me every day. I'm talking to them, having dinner with them or lunch or whatever. The FBI had another undercover operation going out in Milwaukee.
Simultaneously?
Yeah.
So this is the one that they said, we want you to kind of help the other guys out?
Exactly. My whole mindset in undercover is only one person saves your life, and that's you, the undercover. SEAL Team 6, HRT, they could be on the other side of that door, but by the time you shoot me, it's what? Action versus reaction. The action is you shooting me. The reaction is them coming through the door. You see what I'm saying? Not that they're not doing their job.
Who wins? Action wins.
That's exactly right. Action wins.
Yeah.
So my whole mindset was, I save my own life. Every undercover has to look out for their own security. Don't depend on somebody else, right? So my first question is, who's the undercover? So I know the undercover. In fact, I had worked, the undercover that was in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I had worked with him before.
So you have this Milwaukee deal.
Right,
You're,
I know the undercover. I say, sure, but I got to talk to Tony. That was his undercover name. I got to talk to Tony. So me and Tony meet. He tells me about the operation, et cetera, et cetera. I can't just go to Lefty because I got to go to Lefty first. All right? I can't just go to Lefty and say, hey, Lefty, I know a guy out in Milwaukee's got a great business we ought to go do, because I got to distance again, I got to distance myself if anything happens. I just bring up in a conversation, hey, Left, geez, I got a call out of the blue from this guy that I knew from 10 years ago. Guy was a great thief. He doesn't do any reaction. All right. I let maybe a week go by, and then I bring the same conversation up. And finally he says, well, what's this guy do? I says, he's trying to start a vending machine business. The first thing he says, is he effing crazy? They'll blow him up out there. He says, you can't just start a vending machine business, he said. That's controlled. What's this guy got? So I said, well, he tells me he's got trucks, he's got vending machines, he's got offices.
it's the guy in Milwaukee still.
Yeah. So now it piques his interest. He goes, what is it about? It's about Mr. Benjamin, So one day he says to me, hey, he said, tell that guy to fly in here. I want to talk to him. I said, okay, Left. Tony was a great agent. I mean, he was a former Marine, just a tough guy. That evening, me and Lefty go to the restaurant, and Tony comes. I'm in the middle of Tony and Lefty, right? We're sitting
It's just the three of you, no one else is there?
Yeah, we're sitting at the bar.
Got it.
So now his mindset is, if he doesn't talk directly to Tony, whatever is said, it's not illegal. There's no conspiracy in it. All night the conversation is like, Donnie, tell Tony whatever the question was. Tell Tony what business is he in out there. Tony tells me, Lefty, this is the business he's in. Donnie, tell Tony how many machines he has. It goes back and forth. Now, the next day, we go see Mike Sabella, because we can't do anything without the captain. And we explained to Mike Sabella exactly what's going on. So he says, okay, you two guys fly out there. Don't talk to anybody. Just see if he has a business going. So me and Lefty fly to Milwaukee, meet Tony. He takes us to the offices. He shows us he has a warehouse full of machines. He's got a couple trucks, the whole thing. In the mob, one family cannot go into another family's territory and conduct business. You have to get their permission.
And then do you give them 20 points or 10 points or something?
Whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
Yeah. We got to now sit down with our consigliere, the Bonanno family consigliere, right? So we explained to Bobby, his name was Bobby at the time. Now, we have to lie. Not to Bobby, but we got to lie to Chicago, because Bobby has to go to Chicago, tell them about our operation. Chicago then tells Milwaukee, and then Milwaukee decides, all right, have them come out and sit down with us. We have to tell Chicago that Tony, the undercover, has been with the Bonannos for 10 years. If we tell them that the Bonannos just met Tony through me.
That seems to be common, though. You read a lot about that, where Capone used to do that. Capone would meet a guy from a swap meet, and he would say, this guy's my guy, he's been with me for a while. And he just met him a week ago. I'm sorry, Gotti would say that. Gotti would say that.
Because otherwise, they would say, hey, you just met this guy.
Why are you doing it?
He's with us. He's in Milwaukee.
Oh, it's not even a doubt part. It's who's going to make the money part.
That's exactly right.
Got it. Interesting.
That's exactly right, see? So we fly out there, me and Lefty. When we get the call, be at this restaurant. So me, Lefty, and Tony go to the restaurant, and there's the boss of the family, Frank Bellistreri, his underboss, his two sons, and one of his captains. And we have a dinner. We tell them, exactly what we want, because he controls all the vending in Milwaukee and all the towns around it, right? So we'd be infringing on his. The agreement was Tony would do all the work. They would give him stops that he could put the machines in that they didn't have their machines in. Out of that business, the Bonannos would have to give the balustrades, I forget what the percentage was, a percentage of the profit.
Was it one of the first victories where you're like, wow, we just got these guys. Now we know we got the family here in Milwaukee and Chicago we can take down.
The Bonannos thought enough of me and trusted me enough to bring them out there. Now, here's another thing that's lost, and we just married 2 FBI families to conduct business together. Never happened before.
Wow.
Right?
So, Joe, this entire time, how are you staying cool? Like, what is your thought pattern for you? I mean, look, in sports, players get paid tens of millions of dollars every year to stay cool when they're taking a last shot with 2 seconds left, and their life's not on the line. Like, the coach is not saying, hey, MJ, you don't make the shot, we're going to kill you. But with you slip. One slip, and your life is on the line. So what are you doing to make sure you stay cool throughout this entire time?
That goes back to the individual. You never change your personality in the undercover business. You always stay
You never
who you
change
are.
your personality, like DNA, the way you're wired.
That's exactly right.
You're not, okay, got it.
All right, so in other words, I can't have a preconceived notion that all mobsters, are tough guys and drinking, because I don't drink. I've never been a drinker. And my thought process and mindset in undercover is I don't change what I would do normally.
You're in this role for 6 years and you've never been a mobster before. It's not like you did it for a day or 2 or 5 minutes or an hour or a drive. How do you go for 6 years? I mean, if you go for 6 years, a part of me is curious to know, did you at one point actually forget about the fact that you're an FBI agent and you became a mobster? Or was it like you're living a double life, like a man who's married to 2 different wives and neither one of them knows about the other wife?
I never lost the fact that I was an FBI agent.
Never.
Joe Pistone, no. To me, all my undercover roles were just another investigation.
And you never got emotionally attached?
No.
Never.
No. Did I like Lefty or like Sonny? There were certain traits about the guys that I did, but I never got emotionally attached to them that, oh man, this guy's going to go to jail or this guy's going to get killed, because long-term deep undercover, everybody can't do. It's a special personality and a special...
He wasn't just undercover anymore. He was family. Between dinners, deals, and blood oaths, Joe found himself living as both a cop and a criminal. And that's when the line between right and wrong began to blur.
That you actually saw them killing somebody right in front of you? Had you already seen?
No.
You'd never seen it?
What happened was that I really wasn't there when they killed these guys. That was movie stuff. But I had gotten a contract to kill Bruno, who didn't show up.
Sonny Bruno, who's the father, who they had issues with them.
Right. Remember, they killed the 3 captains.
Yeah, Sonny Bruno's the cocaine guy, right? That he was.
Yeah. His name was Bruno. Yeah. Bruno Delicate. They killed his father, Big Trin, and Phil Lucky.
He was the only one that was left.
They were 3 capos that opposed Rusty Rastelli.
And they were trying to make sure they got everybody because Bruno wanted to retaliate.
Right. And Bruno was supposed to show up at the meeting to get killed, and he didn't. I was supposed to be there, and then at the last minute, they canceled me out. And then I was supposed to be in the cleanup crew with the guys that cleaned it up. But they canceled me out because they had enough guys.
So they were supposed to take you out, but they didn't. You got canceled.
Yeah.
Did you at all feel guilty about Nicky getting killed, or no? Was it kind of like, not at all?
Hey, like I said, you made a choice in life.
Wow.
It's your choice to be a gangster, man.
That's amazing to me that in your mind, it's not necessarily cutthroat the way you're making it seem.
The thing is with these guys is that you wake up in the morning and is today the day I go to jail or is today the day I get killed?
So Sonny says to you one time, the whole thing is how strong you are, right? And how much power you got and how fucking mean you are. That's what makes you rise in the mob. Every day is a fucking struggle because you don't know who's looking to knock you off, especially when you become a captain or a boss. Every day somebody is looking to dispose of you and take your position. You always got to be on your toes. Every day's a scam day to keep your power and position. Sonny told you that?
Yeah.
Did he tell you this as he was starting to get really close to you and wanted to help you become a made man? Was it at that moment when he was done?
Yeah.
So
Sonny,
you know the life.
Sonny and I had a lot of one-on-one conversations. If I didn't feel like going back uptown, I would stay upstairs with him, sleep on his couch. At the time, he's one of the acting bosses of the Bonanno family.
Did you see Sonny more as a leader or Lefty? Was Sonny the one that was coming up?
Oh, Sonny was
night
the
and
leader.
day?
Yeah, Sonny was the leader.
Was Lefty more emotional and Sonny was more stable? Or?
Yeah.
Got it.
Sonny was the leader. I get up in the morning. Sonny goes across the now. Here's the acting boss of the family. Goes across the street to the bakery, gets 2 coffees, hard rolls with butter, and brings them back. And we're sitting on his couch in our underwear, drinking coffee and eating a hard roll and bagel with a cartoon on the television.
Cartoon.
Cartoons.
Now that's straight mobster. You watching cartoons.
Could you ever do that with Lefty? No.
Because Lefty, you said Lefty was a 24/7 gangster, right?
365-day-a-year gangster.
Sonny had the
Now,
easier side.
Sonny was a stone cold gangster,
But
he was a little more down to earth about stuff. And in one conversation, he told me, he said, Donnie, he said, Lefty's holding you back. Now, is he feeling me out to see where my loyalties lie? If I'm going to turn on Lefty? Because I'm close to him now, but if I say, yeah, I know Sonny, but and then it's like to him, well, hell, if he turns on Lefty, what's he going to do with me down the road? So, I said, Sonny, I've known Lefty from day one. He's got a lot of faults, but he's my guy. I wouldn't know you without him. So he sees, I got to show him that I'm a loyal guy, but I got to show him too that I'm smart enough to know Lefty has faults. And then as time goes on, we're in a restaurant in Brooklyn called Creasy's. Now, there's this rift within the Bonanno family. The 3 captains that want to take over the family against Sonny, Joey Messina, and a Sicilian faction. There was a Sicilian faction of the Bonanno family run by Sal Catalano. That faction was with Sonny and Lefty and Rastelli. He says, Donnie said, they're going to open the books in December. In other words, they're going to induct members. He said, I already proposed you for membership. Everybody gave you a thumbs up.
Sonny's telling me
Sonny's telling me this. He said, so you're going to become a made guy in December.
How long is that before the operation shuts down?
Late May.
So you're 7 months away from being a made guy.
Yeah, and we shut the operation down in July.
2 months later.
2 months later.
When the FBI took over and they said, no, here's what we're doing, they went to Lefty and they went to these guys.
Because of the killings. Now, don't forget, they killed those 3 guys. I get the contract to kill Bruno. Who didn't show. Sonny sends me to Miami. He says, we think he's in Miami. So I go to Miami. I look around Miami. The deal was that if I find him, I call the FBI. They come out and snatch him. And they make it look like they stage a hit, like I did hit him. And if the FBI found him first, it'd do the reverse. They'd snatch him, stage a hit. I couldn't find him, so after like a week, I said, Sonny, I can't find him. He said, okay, he's not there anymore. He said, we got word he's back in New York. Come on back. I go back to New York. We're still looking for him. Now, during that whole 6 years, I never carried a gun. But now, Sonny gives me one.
Sonny, yeah.
Well, because
Sonny.
now there's a shooting war.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, we go to a wedding, and guys, but before, on a day-to-day basis, wise guys don't carry guns. The only time they carry a gun is if they're going to go do a piece of work.
Now, what's the story about Lefty carrying 2? Because back in the days,
well, when you go kill somebody.
Okay, when you go, he would take 2.
Yeah.
Because the guns were old and it would get sometimes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Why don't they carry guns on a daily basis? Because you're always getting rousted by the cops. Why do you need,
Sure.
Why do you need that?
Makes sense.
So the only, like I always get a kick out of, I watch these gangster movies. You see gangsters with shoulder holsters. And you know where the guns are? They're in your pocket. They're in your waist. I never saw a gangster with a shoulder, any kind of holster yet.
So you get the gun 6 years into it.
Yeah,
Sonny gives you a gun.
That's the only time I carried a gun.
And the scene with the boat, was it pretty vividly close to what the scene was with the boat, with you and Lefty? Were you getting close? Sonny's there, you see him, you turn off the lights. Then you go in, he comes out, he's about to shoot him, you're not going to do anything about it. That's Hollywood, so that wasn't the case.
Yeah, what happened was, we're in the club one day. Remember, I had the contract to kill Bruno. So when you get a contract in the mob, it's your responsibility that guy gets killed. Now, I might not pull the trigger.
But I can get somebody to do the work for me.
But I have to be there.
Sure.
So Sonny gets a call and he says, Bruno's at such a place, I got to get the other guys together. So get our guns, okay? Start to get in the car. Phone rings. It's bad information, he's not there. My problem is, if he was there and we get there, what do?
You're going to call.
Do I say, hey, wait a minute, guys, I'm an FBI agent, we can't kill him? Who do you think gets killed then?
You.
Right there. First of all,
when the Mafia gave him a kill order, everything changed. For the first time, Joe had to choose between his mission and his sole one decision, and one bullet could expose him to everyone.
Because you're a citizen, you're citizens. I ain't dying for a gangster.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are truly like a real deal patriot. You're not, you bleed red, white, and blue. You're going to do it for this country. You're not even getting, wow. So let me ask you this question. So this whole thing gets done. Obviously, you know, everybody gets killed at that time. A lot of these guys that you were in business with and friends with for many years. You know, you hear the story about Sonny with the Rolexes and Lefty with the girl, and hey, Sonny says, hey, tell Joe. In the movie, I think they have Lefty say it to his girlfriend, but in real life, it's Sonny says it to his girl. That correction there.
I'll tell you that story. You want to hear that story?
Yeah, I do.
The FBI goes to Sonny, Lefty, and them in the club. And what we had done, we took a picture of me and other FBI agents that Sonny knew from years of them working him. I'm there and I got my credentials, and they go to Sonny and they say, you know this guy? And I don't know. He said, well, he's really Joe Pistone, FBI agent, undercover. Nah. They leave. Now, we had wires going. They're talking, it's like, there's no way Donnie's an undercover. No way he's an FBI agent.
Did you actually hear that live yourself, that the wiring of them talking?
No, I didn't hear it, no. Because I was in Washington at this time.
Got it.
Their thought process was, the FBI kidnapped Donnie, snatched him, and are brainwashing him and trying to make him an informant.
Wow, that's how good you were.
That was their...
That's how good you were to get them.
Yeah. Once the indictments come out, and, and everything, now they realize it, right? Hey, he really was an FBI agent. So now Sonny gets a call. He gets called to a sit-down.
He knows what it is.
Yeah. Now, you talk about gangsters, and remember I said there's gangsters and gangsters?
Yep.
He goes in the bar, takes off his watch, takes off his diamond ring, goes in his pocket, takes out his money, takes all his keys but his car keys, says to the bartender, I'm going to a sit-down and I'm probably not coming back. Calls his girlfriend and tells her the same thing. If you ever see Donnie, tell him I loved him and I'm glad it was him. He was just better than we were. He goes to the sit-down and they whack him. Now tells the bartender, I'm going to a sit-down.
This is Sonny.
And I'm probably not coming back.
Now, they didn't find his body for a year.
Yeah.
And when they did, they found it with his...
Right. Why? Because he had me shaking hands with bosses.
Wow.
Now, they whacked Mira, because he was the first one that brought me in. Jilly got killed, the Colombo. Lefty's on his way to get killed, and the FBI overheard it on a wire. So they snatched him before he got to the destination where they were going to...
Lefty.
Yeah.
So what happened to Lefty?
He went to jail.
And he died eventually in...
He did 15. He had cancer of the penis. He had lung cancer. He had oral cancer. They took one of his lungs out in prison. And then they found he had cancer in the other lung. And he had like 6 months to live or something. 6 weeks or something to live. So they just released him and said, go die home. So he actually died outside of prison.
Did you ever reunite with Never?
No.
Nothing?
No.
No call, no... No indirect
Let me tell you
communication,
something. We
nothing.
were at a trial in Milwaukee.
You had like 16, 17 trials that you
I had 17 on that one.
Wow.
That's not counting the other trials.
Got it. So you're on this trial in Milwaukee.
And no. It was a trial in in Tampa. He gets up and tells the judge he should be in jail. He's hollering in court.
Lefty.
Yeah, when
To
I
you.
walk in to testify, he's hollering to the judge that I should be in jail, not him.
Why?
I was the undercover agent, I guess. And then,
So you could see the hate. You could see the.
oh my God! And then in Milwaukee, the U.S. attorney, not the U.S. attorney, but the assistant U.S. attorney, comes to me and he says, "You think we can turn lefty?" I said,
24/7 gangster. You're not going to do
I said,
it.
never in a million years.
You told him that.
He says, well, I'm going to go talk to him. I said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk in there, in the jail. He's going to start mother effing you, tell you to get the F out of here. He comes back and he said, how did you know? I said,
Spent 6 years with the guy. What do you mean?
I know the guy.
Yeah.
So he died outside of jail. Yeah.
The part where it says you get $500 for your service, is that Hollywood or is that true?
No, that's what I got.
Okay, so now here's my question for you. A sixth of your life you give up. Truly, it's like you gave up sixth of your life. You've seen your wife and your 3 kids once every 4, 5, 6 months. And when you see them, it's 1 or 2 days, and then you're gone, right? You miss those memories, those recitals, and you finish up, and they only give you $500 for putting your life on the line, and then that's it? Did they give you retirement, a pension, anything else, or that was it?
No, I had to do my 20.
Let me
but
ask
what
you.
I did get the United States Attorney General's Award.
But that doesn't pay you $4,000 a month for the rest of your life. It's not an annuity.
and I got a $5,000 check for that from the Department of
So
Justice.
say $5,500. $5,500. Private school is more than that for kids in college, right? So, was there a part of you where deep down inside you're like, "Give me a break. I just put my life on the line. You give me only this much." I mean, because here's why. Here's why I'm asking this question. Your life will never be the same again. Never be the same again.
Neither will my kids.
Neither will your kids, neither will your wife for having put up with this. I mean, pay for my kids' college. Give us $200,000 per kid for college. Take care of me, give me a place, have a secrets, have somebody around me. You brought out 245 convictions. Is there any part of you that's kind of saying, the system, you got to take care of a guy like me if you want to do this, and the next guy that does it, you got to make sure the system's changed. Was there any animosity towards the way they took care of you at the end?
There was only one where I had one boss that was a real pain in the arse. You don't do it for money. You don't work undercover, for a reward.
I get that.
No, but listen, I did have a hard time from one SAC. That's a special agent in charge of a field division. If there was any why you letting this guy do this to headquarters, but as far as the FBI as a whole, I don't have any ill feelings, because most, other than this one guy, everybody else treated me fair.
I understand treatment. I understand the treatment part. And I know this guy was a pain in the arse, but I'm talking about return for your time in service. You do 20 years in the Army, they give you 50% of your retirement. You do 30 years, they give you 75. I don't know what the numbers are right now, 75 or 100%. 6 years, they can't be given back to you.
No.
You think it's okay that they only give you $5,500? Honestly?
What are you going to do?
Yeah, there is the other part that it's kind of like, listen, if I'm about to be the next Joe Pistone and I'm about to work on a case that's for the Russian mob, let's just say, and I'm Russian, I grew up in Moscow, and I speak the language, and I've got the swagger because I grew up in a part in New York or LA that's part of that, and I'm going to get into it and I call you and I say, hey Joe, listen, if you do me a favor, I understand you used to, I'm about to think about doing this, I'm 30 years old, I got a wife and 3 kids, should I do it? What would you tell me?
No.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
See now that's
well, because you have a wife and 3 kids.
So if you had to do it all over again, you wouldn't do it.
Would I do it?
Would you do it if you had to do it all over again?
I'd probably lean in yes.
So there's a bipolar relationship there that you would tell me not to do it.
Right, because
There's an issue.
Because you're married and you got 3 kids.
But you're married and 3 kids.
I know, but I'm looking out for you.
So
I'm looking out for you.
The operation was over. His friends were dead. His cover was blown. But the hardest part wasn't walking away. It was realizing the men he brought down had once trusted him with their lives.
Mental toughness that the guys that do deep cover and long term can do.
Was there a moment where you were so into deep, and I know you wanted to be a made guy because you were upset when they took you out because you wanted to be a made guy. Was it you wanted to be a made guy because of a self-recognition, competitive side of you, or because of pride that I went in and I made it all the way up to being a made guy, or that the hit was going to be bigger if you were a made guy to be able to say, look, I infiltrated and I got all the way up to being a made guy? Which one was it for you?
We got 6 years invested in this.
It's a long time.
Okay. Nobody in the undercover field has ever gotten this close to the Mafia where I was going to be a made guy in 4 months. Why not wait out the 4 months and let me get made?
For what though? What was your motivation?
The motivation is that look at the kick in the arse to the Mafia. They made an FBI agent. Because remember, up until this time, the Mafia was like an invincible entity to the American public. Do they won? They had an undercover agent at the top echelon of the families, putting different families together, but they also made him. You see the bad publicity and
Do you prefer Donnie Brasco's life or Joe Pistone's life?
Joe Pistone's life.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Now let me ask you, let me restate the question. Joe Pistone is not married. He doesn't have 3 kids, okay? And Joe becomes a FBI agent. Do you prefer Joe Pistone's life or Donnie Brasco's life?
Joe Pistone
Still.
Yeah.
So you have there was no part of it where you got so deep where you're like, my gosh, this life is fascinating to me. You truly wanted to take these guys down.
Yeah, because that was my job. That was my job.
I
as an
get it.
FBI
I
agent.
understand the job part. But
it might be hard to.
But let me explain to you why. And here's how I'm processing this. Say I'm married, but let's just say I'm, John Doe, and I'm married to a girl named Mary, okay? And I love Mary, okay? And I work with this girl, and Mary works at Sears, and I work at IBM, and I start getting really close to this girl. And maybe I'm starting to spend a lot of time with her. And me and Mary are going through issues. And this girl here is treating me really good. And it happens 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. She's cried. We've had moments. Nothing's yet happened, okay? Emotionally, I'm getting a little too deep with this relationship here, right? Emotionally, if you think about it. There was never that moment for you where emotionally you didn't go onto the other side where feeling, never. No. Wow. So then that says a lot about your mental and emotional toughness to be able to process it that way and never get into deep, because you were able to convince a lefty that you were the person he loved.
Yeah, and Sonny Black too.
So maybe you need to go play poker, these poker tournaments, and you got the glasses on already, so you look like you're ready to play poker and crush everybody.
And my outlook is, look, everybody has a choice in life. You chose to be a gangster. I chose to be an FBI agent. So if you want to be a gangster,
go be it.
Go be it. I chose to be an FBI agent. And as an FBI agent, my job is, if we know you are breaking the law, to gather evidence of you breaking the law.
It almost is like you have to be emotionless while you're going through this, because while you're doing the 6 years away from your wife and kids, you're coming and seeing them. I mean, these are peak of your kids.
Right.
They're growing up, they're going through that. They want daddy to be around, recitals being missed, all these other things being missed, arguments with wife validated. Some of the scenes in the movie were obviously more Hollywood. They're fabricated, that, like the slap, all this other stuff. So how are you managing the personal family side? And, what is she doing to not get upset and lose her cool, to tell people who you really are? Because the FBI guys are coming to you. I mean, she has to be a mentally and emotionally tough person to do what she did. So how was that dynamic on the family side?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, you can't go into an undercover operation if your wife or your girlfriend, or if it's a girl, if it's a female undercover, you know, her husband or her boyfriend or whatever, if you don't know the other person, if you don't have a partner that, you know, that is also mentally tough and also has their own character, it's not going to work, obviously.
Obviously, that's a difficult task.
You know, of course it is.
How often was she seeing you? How often was it? Like every month? How often would you see family?
Maybe once every 4, 5, 6 months, all depended.
Wait a minute. I thought you were going to say once every 4 or 5 days.
No.
Once every 4 or 5 months, and like for one day or like for a week at a time?
No. I might fly in, spend a day, maybe 2 days if I was lucky.
Every 4, 5, 6 months?
I'd fly out, yeah.
And you're still with your wife till today?
Same one.
Joe, you married up like at the highest level.
I married an Irish lady.
I mean, let me tell you, if you're watching this, wow. Married, 3 kids, wife, family, you're going through this part, you're seeing them once every 6 months. Did the fights, did the heat, did it getting higher and higher and higher where eventually she told you, said, Joe, we can't do this anymore, you gotta cut it? Was there a moment for that?
No, not really. There was one time when I actually almost pulled out because she was in a bad car accident.
She was?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long ago was that into?
That was maybe 3 years into the operation.
Got it.
And that's when I thought, well, maybe, you know, maybe I should get out. We were into 3 years. I was really engrossed now, you know, embedded with the Bonannos. We had the operation going in Milwaukee. So I felt if I do get out, all this work that other people have put in
Done.
is gone. So after some real soul searching, I decided to stay.
Did you talk to her about it or no? You just made the decision on your own that
I told her I was going to stay.
you told her you were going to stay.
Yeah.
Was she devastated? Was she annoyed by it? Was she hurt by it?
I think she probably was a little hurt, but you know, she was on a lot of medication, so maybe she didn't understand. But no, she was, yeah.
Did levity help you out? Did levity kind of help you out go through this? Was it kind of when you were on your own by yourself? Were you kind of finding that way for you to be calm or more relaxed, or was your level of tense and intensity going higher and higher and higher?
I always stayed on a plane. It's the personality, I guess.
So why don't we talk about Sonny Black a little bit? Because, you know, I've asked a lot of people about Sonny Black, and he seems like a guy with a lot of his own colorful type of a personality. So as you're coming up, you're making a name, you're doing some work in Florida, you're getting things done, you're building some credit for yourself, and Sonny gets picked up, and he becomes a boss, and he starts kind of seeing that's what's happening with you. And then there's this event that takes place in Florida with the, you know, you got to get this boat, you got to get a nice boat, and you go get this FBI boat. And you and Sonny have a conversation there where, and I'm covering a lot of different things, but I kind of want to hear from you, where Sonny says something like, hey, I think Lefty's holding you back. I think, you know, I can help you become a made man and all this other stuff. How did that transition take place from Lefty to you starting to get closer to Sonny? Because if I read it well, and if I've studied it properly, you probably spend the most time with Lefty. After Lefty's probably Sonny that you spend the most time with, right?
Correct.
How did that transition take place?
Well, what happened is that I'm with Lefty, and remember, Mike Sabella was our captain, and Carmine Galenti was the boss. So now we're in Little Italy. They whack Carmine Galenti. They make a guy by the name of Rusty Rastelli the boss of the family.
Who's in prison at the time.
Who's in prison at the
Right.
time. Sonny Black now gets up to captain. They knock Mike down because Mike was close with Carmine Galenti. Nicky Marangello was Galenti's underboss. They go to Mike and Nicky and say, look, you either step down or we're going to whack you. Since they knocked Mike down, now the administration of the family, they put me and Lefty under Sonny Black because he's now elevated to captain. He's in Brooklyn. So now me and Lefty have to report to Brooklyn every day to Sonny Black. So of course I get introduced to Sonny. Again, you know, Sonny's involved in gambling. He's got gambling operations going. It's moving swag. So I'm involved in all of this all of this with them. Now the FBI has another undercover operation in Tampa. They were trying to get to Santo Trafficante, who was the Mafia boss in Florida, but they weren't getting to him. And they say, hey, you think you can bring the Bonannos to Florida? I brought him out to Milwaukee. I don't know, I don't want, I said, all right, tell me who the undercover agent is. I said, let me see what I can do. So I go through the same routine, but this time what I do is I said, I can't say again, somebody called me, and say, hey, Donnie, I said, what we'll do, we were going back and forth to Miami a lot. When I say we, me and Lefty, all right? Because he'd like to go down there on the weekends and hang out, all right? Because we had an inn.
For fun. This is not business. It's for fun.
Yeah, for fun. Because we had an inn at one of the major hotels that, we would get a suite and just hang out by the pool. So I said, all right, I said, have the undercover agent, who also was going by the name of Tony, bump into us in the hotel restaurant bar.
Bump into us.
Yeah. This way it's not like, hey, left, a guy from Florida called me, right? So that's what happened, a chance meeting, okay? Hey, Donnie, how you doing? I haven't seen you, blah, blah, blah. Tony, hey, I want you to meet Lefty. Oh, I got a nightclub up in Tampa. Their minds are always working about how to make money, right? And of course, a nightclub, you're thinking, no kidding, I got a nice club. It's a private club. Why don't you guys, come on up sometime? One day I said, Left, why don't we take a run down and check this club out? So, tell Sonny, yeah, go ahead, check it out. So me and Lefty fly down and shows us around. It's gorgeous. It's on like 5 acres, got tennis courts. At night, the place is jammed. We go back, tell Sonny. Sonny flies down. And now, they get the idea, oh, we got a great thing going here. Now we have to go through the same routine because they can't conduct any illegal business here because it's Trafficante's territory.
Same thing. You got to go negotiate dollars.
So
this is me. He's been with me for 10 years.
Right. Now, the whole difference here is once they set up the meeting with Trafficante, me and Sonny go to the meeting. Just me and Sonny.
Lefty's not there.
No, which ticks him off.
Why wouldn't Lefty be there?
Sonny didn't want him there.
Oh, wow.
Sonny didn't want him there.
Got it.
So I'm now in a precarious situation because he says, me and Donnie are going to meet Trafficante.
Now, it seemed like there's some animosity between from Lefty to Sonny, because Lefty felt like I've been here for 30 years. When am I going to get the opportunity to kind of get my bump?
Yeah,
so was that kind of deeper?
Oh, yeah, because he's figuring he's bringing you in to meet with him. I've been a wise guy forever. I gotta placate Lefty and say, Left, what's the difference? I'm still your guy. Yeah. We can do this and that. So me and Sonny meet with Trafficante. Trafficante gives the okay. You guys can do what you want there. We get a cut.
They're good with it. So that's
as long as they get a cut of it. What does he care?
Got it.
He's not putting any men there to run anything.
Got it.
Then what happens is that the guys want to go out on a fishing trip. So the FBI has a boat. I said, Left, do you remember we were out in San Diego? I said, remember we met those couple girls at the bar and we bought them dinner? He said, yeah. I said, well, one of them told me your brother has a boat. I always back stuff up. So I said, let me see if I can find the number. So the next day I said, yeah, I got the number here in my little address book. So we set it up and we went out fishing, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that boat was used in another FBI undercover operation and was not supposed to be surfaced. And what happened was there was a leak to the media about the undercover operation, so the FBI had to surface the operation prematurely. And the boat was on the cover of Newsweek. And
on the cover of Newsweek?
Yeah.
I thought it was a story inside the Newsweek.
No, it was on the cover.
It was on the cover of Newsweek?
I'm sure it was on the cover.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it was.
So when that happens, were you on the, because you were on a flight the first time you saw it, right?
Right.
So when was it when he saw it and he found out about it?
We were in Miami, actually, because I remember him saying, come on, let's go to Wolfie's in Miami. I think it's a famous Jewish delicatessen.
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows it. And we go there and we sit down and, and he says, "This look familiar?"
Just the two of you?
Yeah. I said, "It's a boat." He said, "We were on that boat." I said, "Left, how can we be on that boat?" Which, now, the name of the boat was a Left Hand.
What are the chances? So not only you find the boat's name is Left Hand.
So he said, "Donnie, what's my name?" I said, "Lefty." He said, "What's the name of that boat?" He said, "You think I'm going to forget that?" So I said, let me see.
Wow.
I said, "Left. Even if it was, nobody's come after us. They were after all these politicians." And he said, "Donnie," he said, "I don't know if I should tell, if I should go tell the bosses." I said, "Lefty, we're still walking around." I said, "Look, when these arrests were made, we're still walking around." I said, "They don't want us. What did we do? We went on the boat, we went fishing, had some submarine sandwiches, some heroes. That's it."
So let me ask you, is he doubting you, or is he doubting somebody else on the crew that may have been a informant? Was he questioning you that moment?
Well, at that moment, he was questioning me.
He was questioning you.
But don't forget, now I've been with him so long, and nothing ever.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing
yeah.
ever happened. He was saying, "Did she ever say that?" I said, "No. She just told me her brother had a boat. If we ever wanted to go out on it, so
we could. Yeah,
we could."
So then you guys go. Then you have
and he never mentioned it to anybody.
He never brought it up to Sonny.
Never brought it up to.
And they never saw it either.
No.
So that's so interesting.
Because nobody ever brought it up. He was the only one that brought it up.
Got it. So then you have the opening of the restaurant, the opening of the nightclub, and then the cops show up, and they have that whole scene that takes place, and then you guys go to prison. When you're in prison, Lefty tells Sonny, "There's a snitch here," right? In that moment, do you vividly remember that moment when Lefty said there's a snitch? So when he said that, what happened? I'm assuming everyone's Sonny's going to be looking around.
At everybody, but everybody knew everybody. I mean, when I say everybody knew everybody, it was the wise guys,
So then you guys come out, then you go, and you're coming back, and things are starting to get kind of heated, and you go out there, and was this the first time?
He spent 6 years pretending to be a gangster, and the rest of his life proving he wasn't one. Joe Pistone's story isn't about fame or glory. It's about sacrifice and what it costs to bring justice to a world built on lies.